Good morning once again, and welcome to the Haven Financial Group radio show. I'm Larry Kalvig, founder and CEO of the Haven Financial Group. Kyle Thomas on with us this morning, certified financial planner on the Haven investment team. And Kim, I've said it in recent weeks at Haven Financial Group, it is our 10-year anniversary. We are celebrating it. And we like to have fun with a lot of these serious topics that maybe aren't so fun, like money and insurance and Medicare and healthcare and all these things. But we like to have a little fun, and we're going to have our annual Charlie's Client Appreciation event on Charlie's on Prior Lake. We like to give back to our clients and their friends. And again, if you're listening and you don't have client events, maybe it is something you want to seek out and kick the tires. We'd love to have you. So again, 10-year anniversary. Retirement is not exactly always the funnest thing to talk about. But if you haven't talked about it, it may be more concerning than if you have talked about it, because if you have discussions ongoing with whoever you're partnering with, assuming you have somebody that's working on your behalf and a partner, it can give you much more confidence. So again, we're very happy with the 10 years, and we love to do our Charlie's Client event coming up September 4th.
Well, congratulations on 10 years. It's amazing. And
thank you.
It really is, Larry. It's a terrific thing. Kyle Thomas is with us this morning. He's a certified financial planner at Haven Financial Group. And we're talking about why you don't have to worry about these uncertain times when it comes to your retirement. There are steps that you can take, meeting with the folks at Haven Financial Group, to really alleviate some of that stress and to put you on a road and a path that is not bumpy, but instead just sails right into retirement. And what we want to talk about is just why it is that you don't necessarily have to worry about your finances, rather, while we watch this market bump up and down and in different directions. So Kyle, let's start and just tell us, why is it that fluctuation in the market should not be, something that makes you panic stricken if you're in retirement?
Well, this is a fun topic, especially when I'm telling people for the first time that we're meeting with, and that's when you work with us, volatility is actually your friend. We don't want necessarily a static return of 5% each year, because that eliminates the benefit that we can provide as investment advisors. So when volatility goes on within the accounts, it allows us to act proactively and provide extra return for your accounts because we're going to be rebalancing. And that rebalancing works like this. So when, let's say you have Fund A and Fund B, and we're targeting 50% in each of those, right? Well, if Fund A does really well and Fund B doesn't do so well, now Fund A is going to be, say, 60% of the portfolio, and Fund B is going to be 40%. What we're going to do is we're going to sell 10% of Fund A and then buy 10% of Fund B to get it back to 50-50. And the reason that works out is because different asset classes interact differently all the time throughout the year. If we take 2025 into consideration, the year started out kind of good, I guess. And then it started to downtrend, at least for U.S. stocks. In April, U.S. stocks were down. International stocks were up. Bonds were about flat to slightly up. So what we did is we rebalanced. We sold some international, bought U.S. stocks, and did a little bit with bonds as well. Now, since then, U.S. stocks are up. They've outdone international since April. And so that's where we provide the benefit. And we're constantly doing that to make sure that we're always buying low and selling high.
This sounds a bit confusing to me as a layperson who doesn't do this on a regular basis. And Larry, it seems like that's all the more reason why you want to have professionals like you guys taking care of this, because you're watching this every single day.
We are. And, there's so many, if anybody says they're watching it 24 hours a day, they're not. But there's so many computer iterations and so many programs and out there where if something goes haywire, the team is pinged right away. So we're able to respond. So what Kyle describes is extremely important. And for many folks that are in employer 401ks, they maybe aren't rebalancing like they should. Maybe they don't have the knowledge, or they just don't have the investment options. Or the listener that said, well, I don't want to work for somebody and then end up paying a management fee. It just doesn't make any sense. Well, there's numerous studies out there. Jack Bogle, the inventor of Vanguard, of if you work with somebody, yes, there might be a management fee. By the way, if you're listening and don't know what you're paying, I think you should know what you're paying because you might be paying too much. We find that all the time. But there's nothing free. So when you work with somebody that is a wealth manager, you're going to pay them something. But you should be getting the value, more than the value out of that, to do exactly what Kyle said by rebalancing the portfolio, maybe tax loss harvesting, making sure you're diversified you have the right asset class mix. And for many folks, they don't have that knowledge or they don't know what to do. And there's a lot of folks flat out that don't know how much risk they're taking in their portfolio. Kyle mentioned a 50-50 split. Many people have no idea how much risk they're taking. And that can be a real problem too, because then all of a sudden they push the panic button as soon as the markets get volatile. Oh my goodness, I can't believe I lost 25% of my portfolio. Well, had you known how much risk you were accepting in your portfolio, whether you knew it or not, we could avoid some of these pitfalls and downward spikes that really causes a lot of alarm with people.
Sure, absolutely. What if I'm somebody in these times who just doesn't want to face any risk? What do you guys do about that?
Well, there is alternatives to not be in the stock market and face risk, right? So we have people who are just in a bond portfolio, or we have diversified bonds, right, or a bond ladder, stuff like that. And you're still taking some risk, right, because you're at the mercy of the credit quality for whatever bond you're in. But we do want to urge people to have some diversification in stocks as well, because that creates the most optimal outcome. Now, there are some people who just want to be in cash, right? And they see this market's at a high. They don't want to be in it anymore. And then they saw what bonds did in 2022 and 23, and they just don't want to do any of that either. But I will say, if you go to cash, yes, you could time things out perfectly, but that's a very low chance. You're going to be more subject to that purchasing power risk that we were talking about, right? Because that inflation is still there. That inflation is still going to be there probably at least at that 2% mark every year. And so you're really actually losing 2%, even though your dollar value may be the same, you're losing 2% in that. So just be mindful of all the different avenues and what types of risk you have, because no matter what you do, there is always a risk. Sure. It's just, what risk are you taking?
And Larry, I think this is the time in the show where we want to just mention to everyone, if you're listening and we're talking about stocks and bonds and, taking risks, and you think, none of that is for me, I don't have enough money, this is not a conversation for me, this just doesn't have any effect on me whatsoever.
Well, whether you're listening and don't have hardly anything or you have a lot, I don't know how it can't affect you, because it's going to take some sort of money in retirement to produce an income, which is really the name of the game. So we're going to talk more about how do you generate income. But to piggyback off of Kyle's response, it's about having a good balance, getting close to retirement or in retirement, a good bucket full of liquidity, cash, checking, savings, money market, high yield savings, whatever it might be. And I can tell you a lot of folks don't have nearly enough. There's benchmarks that we like to use, 50 to 100 grand for a retired couple liquid. Maybe that sounds high. Maybe that's too much for you, but most people don't have enough. And then the bucket full of risk investments, stock market investments, to whatever degree, have a good understanding of how much that you have in your portfolio. And we like to look at all the options, investments that have more principal preservation. You always give up maybe the high side, and in return, maybe you don't have the downside market risk, and maybe you have principal that is preserved. Maybe you should have some in that bucket, and most people don't. So we're not against looking at, maybe you want a little more safer. Just this past week, I had a couple in. They fit that. We don't want the risk of the market. All the respect in the world. We put them into money market funds or treasuries or treasuries, T-bills, et cetera. So there's nothing that we don't have on the menu. We just want to make sure we're looking at all the items on the menu that are offered to investors.
Absolutely. So if you're someone out there who's listening right now and you're thinking, I don't know what my risk is, or I don't know that I'm diversified, and I am nervous during these somewhat unsettling times, give the folks at Haven Financial Group a call. Their number is 612-504-8400. Set up an appointment. It is free. Go in, sit down, talk with them about what it is you're concerned about. Let them take a look at your portfolio, or maybe you don't have a portfolio and you'd like to put one together. They can certainly help you with that. 612-504-8400. Kyle, thank you very much. It was great to chat with you on this lovely morning. Still coming your way.
Oh, thank you so much.
You bet. Still coming your way. We're going to talk about income generation during these unsettling times, and we'll talk about annuities. That's coming up next right here on the Haven Financial Group Radio Show.